Welcome to Tea Time with Sue. On this episode, University President Sue Thomas talks with Jonathan Vieker, Assistant Vice President for Student Success and Institutional Effectiveness. Jonathan is a Truman alumnus and originally planned for a career in music. Sue and Jonathan discuss his journey to a career in academia and some of the resources Truman students have available to help reach their full potential. Let's jump into the conversation.
So, Jonathan, thank you. It is super cool to have you as my first guest on season 2 of Tea Time with Sue. And, I think you represent so many cool, fabulous things about Truman, right? You're an alum, you have progressed through and had an amazing impact in lots of ways here at Truman. So I thought, I'm going to let you tell everybody who you are, give your name, give all of the titles you've had, all the work you've done here to start, because I think it's a really cool story.
Well, thanks, President Thomas. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the invite and happy to have this conversation. So, let's see here. So, evidently, I've been at Truman for 10 years now. It seems hard to believe, but I guess I started here as a student in 2003, and I got a music degree, left for grad school, and then came back in 2012 and started working in the academic advising department, the Center for Academic Excellence.
So what brought you back?
Yeah, well, so it's kind of a long story, so I'll keep it fairly compact here. So I had gone to grad school for music performance, and I was planning to go get my DMA, my doctorate in music, and become a college trumpet professor. And unfortunately, I had a series of, I'm a trumpet player, obviously, you probably inferred that. I had a series of lip injuries that sort of prevented me from kind of going to that last step. And so finished my graduate degree in music performance, and was teaching and playing, but it was becoming clear that probably music wasn't going to be the long-term career. And so at the time, my wife and I, this was like 2012, we were starting to think about, the having a family stage of life, and we're all, our families are all from Missouri. Her family is from Macon. And so we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time, where I'd gone to grad school, and she applied for some high school teaching jobs in Missouri, and the one she got, the one that ended up being the best fit anyway, was in Macon, Missouri. So, close. 4 years, close. 4 years after leaving Kirksville, thinking, I'd probably never live here again, found ourselves moving back to the area, and performing as a musician is not an option in Kirksville as far as, not a big enough population base. So
Sure.
applied for the advising job, and it worked out.
So what attracted you to advising?
To be perfectly honest, at the time, I was attracted to the idea of a connection with students.
Mm-hmm.
I had some college teaching experience as a GA and as an adjunct. And I thought, advising, still has that connection with students. I can figure out how to do that. But, at the time, it was mostly just, I would like a job of some kind, ideally one that's intellectual and that's in higher ed. So I really grew to love the job after getting it. I didn't know a whole lot about it beforehand.
Okay, so we get you home.
Yes.
You're an academic advisor.
Right.
But you're not currently an academic advisor. So what happened between then and now? Yeah,
so, to keep a long story fairly short, for 7 years, was in an advising role, and I had it in my head that I wanted to look for opportunities and to advance my career and to learn how to lead if possible. And so took on committee roles, was on staff council, just looked for opportunities to serve the university basically. And in 2019, I was very fortunate. There was a job that was created, the director of retention position. Applied for that, prepped up really hard for that, and was fortunate to get it. And then that was expanded a little bit later to include academic advising. And then just a few months ago, moved into my current role, which is Assistant Vice President for Student Success and Institutional Effectiveness.
Okay, so tell us what that means.
Yeah.
I know what that means. Tell everybody else what that means.
Yeah, so I think of the job as having sort of two halves. So the student success half includes, Center for Academic Excellence, so first-year advising, Writing Center, Office of Disability Services and Student Access. So, making sure that our students have the resources that they need to be successful academically, but just in general. Mm-hmm. And the other half is institutional effectiveness, so institutional research, data wrangling and data analysis, but also, asking more fundamental questions, or really supporting people who are asking more fundamental questions about how do we know if we're being successful with what we're trying to do at Truman in all the various things we do. So I'm newer to that world for sure, and I'm finding my feet. But that's kind of how I think about the position.
You're working on a doctorate as well, right?
Yeah, I didn't have enough to do, so I decided to start a PhD. Yeah.
Okay, so let me talk about that because,
Sure.
right, you are all jammed up with all kinds of things, a new job, tons of responsibilities, lots of focus. You're also doing a PhD. So you're kind of the typical Truman student still in some ways. So, but you're in a place to be able to talk about how to manage all that. So what would you say to our typical Truman students in terms of balancing a whole bunch of things, how to ask for help, how to make sure they're doing and achieving their own success here, not getting overwhelmed, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's one that's each person sort of has to kind of go through their own journey on that. What has worked for me, and it's something, to be transparent, I still struggle with it. I tend to say yes before and no, and sometimes I have to walk back and say, okay, I'm going to have to cut some things out. But in general, I think being as clear as you can about where you want to go and what it is you like to do. As you get older, especially, as you work through your college years, you get a clearer picture of who you are. But what works really, really well for me, and this might be sort of based on personality and traits like that, is I use a productivity system called Getting Things Done. It's a sort of a methodology. I try to make sure everything I have to do is written down somewhere and tracked somewhere, and that allows me to sort of, even if there's a lot on my plate, know that it's sort of handled. So I don't think that particular approach is all that important. You don't have to use Getting Things Done, but what I would urge college students to do is to figure out a system for managing your own life, and really try to stick to that. Do your best to stick to that, and expect that it'll change as you mature. But that's
so. Where do they get help for that? If they're struggling on, I want to figure that all out, but I have no idea where to start. Where do they start?
Yeah, great question. So there are a number of sort of departments on campus that can help with that. University counseling services; those folks are often familiar with how to help you get organized to some degree. The Career Center does a lot of that kind of work. An area that I work with, the Center for Academic Excellence. We first year advising is the biggest piece of what we do, but we've also in the past couple of years really expanded our services to second, third, fourth, even fifth and graduate students as well, fifth year and graduate students. And the folks in that area can absolutely sort of help you look at, okay, you've got this much to do, here are the due dates, let's make a plan, let's write it down, let's put you back in the driver's seat. And, it can be hard to ask for help. And I think that's true for a lot of us, even, out after college. The way I like to think about it is it's better to think, instead of thinking of asking for help as asking for help, think about it as getting a coach. So if you think about it, it can be difficult to ask for help, but in fields where coaching is the norm, like athletics, music performance,
right?
People at even, executive leadership, folks at the very highest levels of those fields have coaches. Michael Jordan had a coach. Tiger Woods had a coach, right? Serena Williams has a coach. And so if you think about it that way, we can all use a little bit of coaching. And so if you can sort of pivot from thinking of, I'm not doing a good job, or there's something wrong with me, I need help to fix this, I need remediation to fix my flaws, and think about it in terms of, I just need somebody to objectively help me look at where I can improve, it can be a whole different ballgame.
So I think that's a really good analogy. I think that's a really important mind shift to think about it. So should students start with talking to their own advisors about that? Should they search out some of the other areas that you talked about? If they want to take that first initial step, that first baby step in moving forward, where's the best place for them to start?
Yeah, so I think that depends. I think, whether you're a first-year student or an older student, if you have a good sort of relationship with your advisor where you feel like that's something that you could ask them and you know them pretty well, I think that's a great place to start. If, on the other hand, maybe you have a new advisor this year, or, this is not something you feel like you're comfortable bringing up with your advisor, you can always go to the Center for Academic Excellence, first floor of the library. We take walk-ins from I think 8:30 to 4:30 weekdays. So you can just walk in and you can just ask to talk to whoever the advisor on duty is, and they'll be more than happy to sort of start you down this path.
Cool. And so most students think about CAE just for first-year students,
Right.
but you said you're now doing a whole lot with other students.
Yes.
Can you talk about that just a little bit so students have a sense of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we find that for non-first-year students, sometimes they have a really good handle on sort of their graduation requirements and can this class double count for this requirement if I'm under this catalog, and all of those sort of really wonky technical things that we need to be keeping track of. And some students don't have as great a handle on that, or they could use some help. In addition, if you're a non-first-year student and maybe you're not so sure about your major, you may have a faculty advisor where you feel like that's a question you can bring to them. Mm-hmm. But we know that sometimes students feel like, well, I can't ask my faculty advisor if I'm in the right major because they're going to feel like, of course, they probably would be glad to help, right? But sometimes having a professional advisor who is really truly impartial and can help you take an objective look at your situation can be really helpful. So we do a lot of stuff from, again, technical questions about classes counting and the most efficient path to graduation to much more philosophical, bigger picture questions like, is this a good major for me? What possible careers could I pursue with a degree like this? What grad school options might be a good fit? That kind of thing.
Well, and I think you raise a really important point that you can't offend people by asking these questions.
Right.
So if you're in one discipline, but you're not sure that works for you, that faculty in that discipline will be happy to talk with you. And so you don't have to worry about offending people or making them upset because you want to think about something different.
Yeah, they want what's best for you. If that's in their area, great. And if it's not, they're going to be happy to help you, move down your path wherever it leads you.
So if you had one piece of advice, two pieces of advice for students on how to get from entering the door through launching out of here into the next really cool part of the phase of their lives, what would you say to them?
Yeah, so a piece of advice that somebody gave me once that has proven really helpful for me is find somebody who's a couple steps ahead of you on the trail, on the path you want to be walking, and ask them for advice, do what they did. Sometimes if you're thinking about somebody who's, way ahead of you, the world has changed, or they're far along enough that they don't remember what it's like to be in your shoes. But if you're thinking about going to graduate school or you're looking for a job when you graduate in a particular company, there's probably somebody who could help you move down that path. The Career Center can help you connect with somebody. So having a plan for most people, I think, brings a feeling of control. And so I think whatever it takes for you to get a plan in place and to have a sort of an endpoint in place before that, it's energy that's well spent. And if you're thinking, well, okay, well, that all sounds great, but I don't know how to even start that process. Again, right. I think a session with a CAE advisor can really help you put those first steps in place so that you feel like you know where to start.
Cool. Okay. So for those of us in administration, sometimes people don't think that we do anything outside of these jobs. So I want to circle back around. Tell me a little bit about trumpet, because while you couldn't go on to be a trumpet faculty member and do those kinds of things, you have managed to be able to perform in Kirksville and do other things with the trumpet.
Well, I've been extraordinarily lucky to find a lot of performance opportunities in an area that does not have a huge population. So yeah, I'll sort of just tie up the story from earlier. The lip injury ended up experiencing a rupture of the orbicularis oris. For you anatomy nerds, that's the muscle that encircles the mouth. So I had that surgically repaired in 2011, and took about 3 years to sort of recover my playing abilities, but I have managed to do so, and now it's been over 10 years now. So, playing at the level I was playing at, especially if I have some time to practice. And so, yeah, I'm very lucky I play with a local band called Deadwood, which is about a half Truman faculty or retired Truman faculty now. Play some keyboard, trumpet, guitar, and a little bit of background vocals with them. And in addition, every now and then, the occasional wedding gig will find its way to me. Yeah, pop up, exactly. But yeah, it's interesting. Even in an area that's not a huge city, if you meet people and you make connections and you from a musician standpoint. If you kind of get your name out there, make it clear that you're looking for chances to perform, there are chances to perform. So for me, it's a huge stress reliever.
Well, and you left one part out that I know where you also play, and that's bell ringing for the Salvation Army.
Oh, that's right. Yes. With COVID, I haven't done that in the last year or so, but sometimes President Thomas and I have done some bell ringing together. I'll play Christmas carols, and seems to increase donations.
Yes,
so.
Even when it's super cold outside, you have a good mouthpiece to
Plastic
be able to manage
mouthpieces.
that. Yes,
that's where it's at. Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap back around again because you talked about family, right? And you talked about it was time thinking about starting a family, and you have a lovely family. You want to talk a little bit about them?
Sure. So my wife, Sarah, is also a Truman alum, and she is currently a grant writer at A.T. Still, so just down the street. And we have two daughters who are growing. All those parenting cliches are true. They grow up so quick. It's crazy. We have now an almost 6-year-old. If I say she's 5, she will correct me. No, I'm 5 and 3/4. Thank you very much. And a 3-year-old. So we're right in the thick of it right now. Really fun years trying to be in the moment and absorb these moments because I know they don't last forever. But it's a lot of fun. Our house is a zoo.
Yes, I saw your almost 6-year-old watching the Statesman on the quad.
Oh, yes.
And was super excited about watching them play.
She's really into marching band. Yeah, I think we might have a band member on our hands in a few years.
Well, 12 years and we can recruit her.
That's right. That's right.
So there's also a project that you and your wife work on that's very near and dear to your hearts. Willing to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So our younger daughter, Maddie, who just turned 3, she was born with Down syndrome. And one of the ways that we sort of, I guess, process the diagnosis and sort of, came to know Maddie as who she is was looking at resources in the area. And Adair County and Kirksville have fantastic resources for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It really blew us away. But one of the few areas I think in which we saw maybe a chance to really contribute from the ground up is in terms of books and dolls and toys that normalize Down syndrome for typically developing kids. So this is a long way of saying my wife had a really good idea to start a fundraiser called Project HAPPIE, HAPPIE, helping all preschoolers play in inclusive environments. And this was just a few months ago. She started a GoFundMe page to collect funds to purchase dolls with Down syndrome, as well as little kid books that talk about Down syndrome and sort of again normalize it. And the fundraiser just exploded, took in a lot more funds than we anticipated. And the whole point is to buy those dolls and books and then to donate them to area preschools. So we just had a celebration, a party down for Down syndrome on October 1st. That was just a few days ago. And we're looking to expand, throughout Missouri, basically. And it's amazing how excited these preschool staff and especially the kids are to receive these.
Sure.
And it, our hope is that there's really 2 goals here. It helps typically developing kids understand that people with Down syndrome are in most ways just like the rest of us. And it also helps create, ideally, a more inclusive environment for those who do have Down syndrome, so that they're around other kids who are who know a little bit about the condition, and everybody wins is the idea.
So if we have people listening to us and they want to get involved, they think it's a super cool idea, which is a totally super cool idea. Are there ways they can help?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you go to projecthappie.org, HAPPIE.org, there are, if you're interested in donating your time, there are ways to do that. There's a contact form on the page. My wife, Sarah, does 98% of the work involved with this. I do the website, and that's about it. But we have a wonderful board as well, and they do a ton. So, there are numerous ways to get involved, especially if you're in the Kirksville area, and we'd love to have your ideas or your expertise, and I'd love to have you get involved.
So, Jonathan, with all of these different parts to you, right, and all the things that you do, what keeps you at Truman? What keeps you here?
Question.
Why do you want to stay here?
Well, that's a good question. I guess the answer to that probably at any excellent organization is the people, both students as well as faculty and staff. In my current position, I work just in terms of like FaceTime a lot more with other employees, the faculty and staff, than I do with students. I actually wish I had a little bit more time with students in my current role. But, everybody here is in it for the right reasons. They're here because they want to help students learn. They want to create a great college experience. And the students are here because they love to learn, and they're excited to make the most of their time here. And so I think that's one of the great things about working in higher ed. You never have to question whether what you're doing is worthwhile or making a difference.
Right.
That's taken care of. So that's why I'm excited to get up in the morning and come here.
Well, we are super excited that you get up in the morning and come here. Now, this is tea time, right?
Right.
So I've always had to pull something out of the teapot, so you get to do the exact same thing.
Okay.
So reach in there and grab something.
All right. Here we go. Got something. So do I ask you?
No, this is yours, man.
Okay. I got it. All right. All right.
I love this.
Yeah, let's see what awaits me here. Okay. What's your favorite holiday? My favorite holiday is Halloween, actually.
Okay, do tell.
Yeah, I wish I had like a really great story to back that up. I don't know. I just have all these fond memories of, as a kid, trick-or-treating in the neighborhood. I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so maybe it has something to do with that. But
I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. When you were a kid, did you ever have like the house that gave out the full-size candy bars?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they always check to make sure nobody came back twice.
Yes. You're going to give out the full-size candy bars, you got to have a system in place. But yeah, I just have fond memories of this one house in our neighborhood, growing up in Michigan 30 years ago that, if you had to get there early in the night because they closed up shop at like 9. But yeah, you could get like a full-size Snickers. It was the best thing ever. So
do you use a pillowcase, a bag, a pumpkin?
Usually a pillowcase.
Yeah,
a bag.
They don't break.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't be risking something like that on Halloween.
Yeah, but when you're my size and you're 8 years old and you're my size, a pillowcase is really hard to drag around by the end of the night.
I guess so.
Favorite costume?
I once went as a seasick vampire, which is reverse engineering. So there was some kind of family emergency. I remember my sister got really sick or something, and so my mom, who my whole childhood was super into, making really ornate costumes. We always looked great.
Right.
Something prevented her that year from going out to the costume shop. So we had green face paint and we had vampire fangs in the house. And so she's like, all right, we're painting your face green. Here's some fangs. I don't know what you are, but you're some kind of monster. We decided it was seasick vampire.
So you had to explain that to people?
Yes, I did, about 100 times.
And did they buy
it? They seemed to. They gave me the candy, and at that time, that was all I was interested in. So I guess it worked out.
So in Michigan, did you have to tell jokes at Halloween? I grew up in Pennsylvania, and we didn't have to do that. But in St. Louis, it's a very big thing that you're supposed to tell a joke.
We did not in Michigan have to do that, and I have heard that it's a thing here too. But we moved here right, I was in 8th grade, was sort of aging out of it. So, but it seems like a nice tradition, have the kid have some skin in the game, right?
Right. So you want to hear my kid's favorite one when they were little?
Yes.
Why do witches wear name tags?
I have no idea.
So you know which witch is which.
Oh, very nice.
Brilliant.
Very nice. Yeah.
They were destined to be intellectuals.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go by a linguistics professor's house, you're going to get 2 candy bars for that one.
So plans for this Halloween?
I think we're going to be taking Anna and Elsa from Frozen out trick-or-treating. I think that's what we've settled on as a family. As a family, I think that's what our almost 6-year-old has decided. She takes the call on that pretty much.
Well, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I hope you have a fabulous time. Thanks for playing and pulling from the teapot, and thanks for being my first guest.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invite, Dr. Thomas, and I look forward to watching future episodes.
Yeah, one of these days I'll have you call me Sue.
Okay, deal.
Thanks. Jonathan, really, truly, we are so glad you are here, and thanks for doing such super cool things with our students, right? The work that you do helps keep them here, helps keep them successful, and really launches them off to amazing things. So Thank you. Thank you for being a really important part of that.
You're super welcome, but I feel like the most I do is coordinate the excellent work of other people. So I'm happy to be in a position to do that, and I appreciate the support and the opportunity. So yeah, keep at it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Tea Time with Sue. Subscribe to the podcast to stay in the know for when new episodes are released. Do you know someone in the Truman community that is making a difference? Guest for Tea Time with Sue can be nominated at truman.edu/teatime.